Salute, paisans. I kind of want to talk. I want to talk who's elite right now. This time last year, it was Georgia. This time a year ago, 2 years ago, it was Georgia. Who is the elite team? Who? That old saying. The SEC runs through Tuscaloosa. Where does the Natty run through? I got no clue. Personally, I don't think there's any elite teams, which is why we've had 5 weeks of amazing frickin' football. Salute. But let's go through the top teams. And also pump the brakes on the AP poll. The AP poll is a bit antiquated. You don't drop a spot usually unless you lose. Georgia is the number one team because they won the Natty last year and they haven't lost yet. They struggled against Mississippi State, South Carolina in the first half, and then they took over. But this past week, it was down the wire with Auburn. But they didn't lose. So the AP voters, you're number one. And I said last time we discussed with each other that I thought Texas probably should be number one. I draw a lot of my own data. When you put the ranks together with something called the Massey composite, and the Massey composite is what it is what it sounds like. There are within 50 to 150 algorithms that people put together with their own data points, what they prefer or whatever, and they put it together, and then they put in the data, and boom, it spits out rankings. And the Massey composite takes all those, whole bunch of them, averages them out. Who's the number one in the country? I just said Georgia is the AP number one, and the AP it started in 1936. It's got a lot of history, but I still think it's a little flawed. Guess where Georgia is in the AP? Not in the AP, the composite, the Massey composite. I'll leave a link to the Massey composite in the description. You guys can play around with because it's interesting to look at. Georgia's number 9. Number 9. So, what's everyone thinking? The AP's got them at number 1. The composite's got them at number 9. That means it's all over the place. Texas, frankly, like I said yesterday, I thought was number 1. The composite has them at number 1. They look like the most complete team. If you told me, an AP voter told me Texas is number 1, I would not disagree with you. But at the same time, what if an AP voter comes up to me and says Washington number 1? I don't disagree. And Ohio State might have the best win schedule-wise on the season over Notre Dame at Notre Dame. Okay, then Ohio State's number 1. But let's talk about that best win. They beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame. That's not that hard to do. Irish fans, hear me out. Marshall beat you guys in the house that rocked the belt last year. That's why I think the most impressive win is Texas over Bama in Tuscaloosa. People don't beat Bama in Tuscaloosa that often. That's why I think you could put Texas number 1. Texas got a big matchup this week. We'll get to that. That'll be another video, probably tomorrow. But I'm just talking about who's elite right now. And I want to know. I want you guys to put down in the comments who you think is elite. Who is someone that no one can beat? Because Texas is beatable. They got a big test just this week in the Cotton Bowl. But people coming at me with Penn State. I got questions with Penn State. I've been hearing about this motherfucker Drew Aller for years, right? What's he been doing? We got 4 or 5 games under the belt. He doesn't know how to throw it over the fucking middle. Now maybe he does. Jimmy Franks ain't doing shit with it. So you can't tell me because they have not played to their potential. You can't tell me the number 1 because they haven't played to their potential. Ohio State, they look a little bit all over the place. I think that Notre Dame game was a turning point for them where they finally started hitting them all at all cylinders. And people in the comments right now, I guarantee you right in the comments right now, Michigan, who they played. They blow out all their competition that they played so far. Good for them. But who have they played? They haven't played anybody, so we can't know for sure. But with Washington, old Lefty Penix, well, what were they doing against Arizona? They only beat them by 7. I mean, they say a win's a win. In college football, it ain't always like that. What do I mean by that? In the NFL, if you are 5-1, you're a good football team. It's not always the case in college football. If you're 5-1, you could be hot garbage. The only reason you're 5-1 is because you know who you played, steaming hot garbage. So going back to Washington versus Arizona, a win's a win, yeah, but they looked a little. I watched the replay. They looked a little flustered. They looked a little sloppy. So they got time to button it up before the big competition comes in. But it's just, I don't know. But we'll go back to Alabama. I was already talking about them earlier. They got a big test this week in College Station. I'll talk about that later. And what did I say last time we were together? I said, start thinking, start accepting that you could see a 2-loss team in the playoff because of this lack of eliteness. 2 losses might be a really good team. I mean, Bama lost to Texas, right? That's already set in stone, already happened. Let's say Texas stays undefeated, becomes number 1 in the AP, wins the Big 12, easy number 1 seed in the playoff, okay? And let's say Alabama loses this week at A&M. A&M only has 1 loss. What if A&M plays close down the road, loses a couple, and Bama ends up in Atlanta to play for the SEC championship, and then they win? The only losses out of A&M and Texas, but they won the SEC. I don't think the playoff is just going to be like, yeah, SEC champion, you're not in. The playoff leans SEC. They've been the best conference this millennium, okay? So they have that benefit of the doubt. I don't like it any more than you like it, But it's just getting to my point. We haven't even talked. I talked about Notre Dame in a game. We'll get to them. But what about Florida State? They had that huge win against LSU in week 1, but LSU's got 2 losses now. LSU, I mean, they only have 1 conference loss. If they lose if their 2 losses are to Ole Miss, who, okay, whatever, and if their other loss is to Florida State, what if they're number 1 in the country, ACC champion, undefeated? And then LSU becomes the SEC. You see what I mean? There's no elite team to separate, so that's where you can get all this muddy water. In my opinion, that's good. That's good college football for the boys. Eating wings and everything. That's good college football for the boys. So and then what about, again? I just said I want to talk Notre Dame. Notre Dame. There's no way Notre Dame getting the playoff 2 losses. Not until they expand the thing. Which, oh god. Who wants a fucking expanded playoff? We'll get to that. We'll talk about that later. I don't want it as any more than anyone else does. But Notre Dame, if they lose, if they go down again, not in the playoff, they'll go to the Gator Bowl, the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, or whatever that shit, and then they'll win, and everyone's gonna be like, oh, Notre Dame, they have their blemish. They gotta live with it, and they gotta go at it. We'll talk Notre Dame later this week, and then. What about, we were talking Notre Dame, we were talking Florida State. If we're thinking of the 90s, those are all independents. What about another independent team? Miami. Miami has an outward chance. They're out here. Because, do they have a loss? Yeah, I don't think they have a loss. Okay, well, hey, they control their own destiny. You guys are getting what I'm talking about here, right? Everyone looks good. Some look great at times. No one looks great all the time. No one is elite. So it's really interesting to think about. If anyone in the comments wants to say who they think the playoff is, that could be a good playoff. I mean, I told you what I thought the playoff was going to be at the beginning of the season. Bama, Notre Dame, Florida State, Washington. I omitted the Big Ten. Tell me right now that can't happen. Tell me all those teams stay unblemished. The seeding might be different, but that's a possibility, because what if Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, they play they play dominoes with each other, and they eat each other's dicks, and then all of a sudden everyone's got a loss, and then what if someone out of nowhere comes into the Big Ten championship and wins? You never know what's going to happen. So, my prediction could come true. We really don't know. Miami could go all the way. And then, I mean, if we were talking about Washington earlier, let's get back out west. Washington State, I think they'll lose, okay? But the big guys out west, you got Washington, Hawaii lean towards, but Oregon's looking good, They looking complete. And then USC, they got fucking Caleb Williams, superstar Caleb Williams. But what did we talk about last time? The defense. We keep on coming back. Everyone looks good in one department, and then they falter short. Notre Dame looks good on offense. They're really good on defense, except when they only got 10 fucking players on the field with 1 second. I'm sorry. I have to get over that one, don't I? We all have to have our challenges in life. But so, what I'm trying to get here is we are quarter way through the season. Start getting excited. Seriously, start getting excited because this whole diatribe has been, there's no elite teams, no one is separating so far. And everyone's played decent competition for the most part. I mean, so everyone has shown the highs and lows, the ceilings and the floors. So get excited for the rest of the year because it's anyone's natty. I'm looking direct to camera now. I'm talking to every school that ain't in the SEC. This is your year. If you fuck it up, I don't want to hear bitching in my ear or on the Twitters or in the whatever you fucking call it. This is your year. You want to win a natty. You want to stop having your stupid fans complain on Twitter that SEC bias. Do it this year. The SEC is as vulnerable as I've ever fucking seen them, as anyone's ever fucking seen them. Okay? The two powerhouses of the SEC, West and East, Bama, Georgia, they look like in a neutral field, you could get them. Okay? Bama got at home. Okay? If you want to win and you're not in the SEC, this is your year. But anyway, salud. I'll see you later in the week for predictions. But until then, salud, paisans. It's midweek. We just got over the hump. So go hump the brains out of your broad. Who cares? Let's have some fun. Salud.